Hello and welcome to the Greenstyle Jogger Sew Along. And we are sewing two different style of joggers, the Iron Joggers as well as the Brassie Joggers. And I'm going to be showing you how I do the pockets. The only one that I'm not going to be demonstrating will be the zippered front pocket, and that's just because Angie already did it. The pattern designer did it whenever she released the pattern, and her video is great, so I will be linking that video for that style of pocket. But I will be showing you other ones. I'll show you the traditional style that's in the pattern, the slant pocket, as well as I will be showing how to do a pocket bag. And then if I get a chance, I'll do some that where they have a band on the pocket opening. So here are the pattern pieces. This is the one for the Iron Joggers, and you're going to either cut this away, or I cut it away and then I tape it back and then just kind of use it as a flap so that I have both pattern pieces for whichever style of pocket I want to do. And whenever you cut it out when you're doing the slant pocket, you want to make sure that you cut these out of your fabric. These aren't just decorative or anything like that. You need those for whenever you hem your pocket back. And then this is what it looks like on the Brassie Joggers. There's only one here, and you need to make sure you cut your fabric out of that, because when you hem it, you'll need that so that your pocket goes all the way to your pants. And I'll show you that. So you're going to have those pieces, and then you're going to cut two pocket pieces that are mirror images of each other. So fold your fabric and then cut those out. And then now we're going to go to the machine. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hem the pocket opening. So we're going to actually go to our ironing board first, and we're going to just iron that down, and then we will hem that. Okay. Okay, so we are working on the slant pocket. It works the same as the curved pocket on the Brassie Joggers. This just happens to be the Iron Joggers. And is all you're going to do is make it to where the wrong side of the fabric is facing up. And then you are going to, and this is the front of the leg, and then you're going to just fold this back. And it's really easy to see where you need to fold it because of where those dog ears are, or the little, I guess I call it dog ears, but whatever that pokey part is coming out. And all you're going to do is fold it back like this, and then you're going to iron it down. And we're going to do that on both front pieces, and it's easy to tell. So you have your front rise. This is black. I don't know if it's coming up very good. So you have your front rise, and it looks like that, and you can kind of tell the difference between the pocket piece. So here is where I folded it back, and this is why you're going to need to make sure that you have those dog ears, is because they'll make sure that it's flush there so that you can hem all the way to the edge. So now that we have this ironed down, I'm going to do this to both pieces, and then I'm going to take it to my machine, and you're going to want to use your cover stitch or a stretch stitch on your regular sewing machine. I'll use my twin needle. I'll set that one up, and I will hem this on both sides, on both pocket pieces. Okay, I am at the machine, and I am going to hem it from the right side of the fabric. I have it, I'm doing it with my twin needle, and I have it to where the right side is facing up, and I'm just hemming over that edge. Okay, this is what the wrong side of my fabric looks, and this is what the right side looks, and I'm going to do the other pocket. Okay, so now I have both of my pocket openings hemmed, and I am going to grab my pocket, and you're going to figure out which one is the right side. So this is the wrong side of the fabric that I have facing up, and I'm going to grab my pocket, and then I'm going to put the right side of the pocket facing towards the wrong side. And I'm going to do that on both pieces. And you're just making sure that it's the right side facing down. So this is, right now I have wrong side and wrong side facing up towards me. The right side of my pocket is facing the wrong side of my joggers. So you can see this is what it looks like here. This is the right side. This is the wrong. And that way, whenever you're finished, we have both right sides facing out. So this is going to be the most important part of this step, and that is grabbing Wonder Tape or a lot of pins if you do not have Wonder Tape. Okay, this is the Wonder Tape that I use. I get it at Joann's. I'm sure there's lots of places that sell it. I think I've bought it on Wow. before, and it makes this part of the process just so easy. And without it, I feel like the pockets are harder to do. But if you don't have it, then you still can definitely do them. Just use a lot of pins. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up, and we're going to put, it's a double-sided tape, and we're going to put it all around the edge of this pocket so that we're essentially taping the pocket to the pants. Okay, so now that you have your pockets taped down, this is what it looks like from the front, and then this is what it should look like from the back. And now I'm just going to top stitch it down. If you are using a regular machine, you're going to want to stitch it from the right side of the fabric, and you're just going to feel where the edge of that pocket is. If you're using a cover stitch, you could just stitch on the wrong side and look at that pocket, and that way you can have the reverse side of the cover stitching showing on the front of the pants. Okay, so now let's look at the machine. Okay, so I have my machine set up with the twin needle, and I'm just going to feel where the edge of that pocket is, and then I'm going to stitch from the right side. And there's also decorative stitches that you can use if you're using a regular machine. The key is to just make sure that whatever stitch you're using has very good stretch, since you're using a stretch fabric. Okay, so I wanted to just show you another way that I hem whenever I don't want to use a twin needle and I want a decorative stretch stitch on my machine. I have a honeycomb stitch and it works great. It's kind of slow, so I don't use it on like great lengths, but it works great on the pockets, on the Brassie. So let me show you what that stitch looks like on my machine and show me using it. I like it because you can stitch from the wrong side of the fabric whenever you use it, so it gives you really a good accurate seam or an accurate stitch line whenever you're doing the pockets. So let me turn the camera around and show you. Okay, so the stitch on my machine is number 7, and this is what it looks like on here, is like that. And I don't change, I just do all my settings like normal, and then it changes it on my machine, and then I stitch from the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to start with hemming the pocket opening. This is what it looks like from the right side of the machine. You can see that pretty decorative stitch. And then here is what it looks like from the wrong side. It overcasted the raw edge, and it has lots of stretch in it. So it's a great decorative stitch, especially if you do not have a cover stitch. So you can just use your regular machine to do that. And now I'm going to put my pocket piece, I'm going to put it face down where the right side is touching the wrong side, and I'm going to use Wonder Tape and put it all along. And then it's so easy to follow along on the wrong side and the pocket edge and to top stitch the pocket into place using the same stitch. And I'll do that, and then I'll show you some other pocket variations. Okay. Now that I have my pocket sewn, you can see my stitching. I gave it a good press, and I'm going to just use the basting stitch and baste down this little part right here so that whenever I go to sew my pants up, that these layers are together and not flopping around. So I just increase my stitch length, and I'm going to baste it on both sides, and then, or on each side, and then I'm going to baste it on each top. Just like that. And if you stitched outside of this, what's going to be in the seam line, you can always just remove them, but it's just to hold that together whenever you're putting on your waistband and sewing your pants together. Hey friends, today I'm making the Brassie joggers. I just wanted to show you really quick how I do the pockets when I don't want to have visible top stitching from the right side. So I do a pocket bag, and it's super easy. You just need one additional pattern piece that's easy to create. So what you're going to do is take your normal pocket piece, and you're going to either print 2 of those or just take the one you already printed, trace it on a scrap piece of paper, and cut it out. Once you have that piece cut out, I'm going to show you on the pattern piece. I'm going to bring the camera down. Once you have that cut out, you're going to take that piece and lay it right exactly where it would go on your pattern. And when you have it laid there, you're going to take a pin or something. So make sure it's all even. You're going to trace all around that opening and then cut away that part. And then this is what your pocket lining pattern piece will look like. So is what you're going to do is everything else is the same. You're going to cut 2 of your main pocket on mirror images, and then you're going to cut 2 of your joggers, but you're also going to cut 2 out of the lining fabric. Okay, so you are going to have your front cut out, and then when you cut your front out, you've cut it out on the slant pocket line. And the first thing you're going to do is take your pocket lining that you've cut out, and you're going to put it right sides together. So that is going to be this one. You're going to put it right sides together on the top of your pant, and then you're just going to sew with a stretch stitch all along here. So you're going to sew it this way, and then once you've sewn it, you can flip your lining to the inside. And if you're using a different lining fabric than your main fabric, you're going to want to understitch and top stitch and do things so that it doesn't peek out on the front. If you're using the same though, then you don't really need to take those steps, because if it pokes out, it's the same color. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to sew these right sides together. I'm going to do the same thing on both of them. Just make sure that you can tell which one is your right side, and that you can also tell which one is the pocket versus your crotch opening. You're going to notice that your crotch is going to have a deeper curve, and while your pocket is going to have a shallower curve. So just don't sew your pocket onto the wrong place. Okay, so I have both pockets down, and now I'm going to sew right here. You can use a 3/8 inch seam allowance on that seam. Okay, now that you have this sewn right sides together, you're simply going to flip it to where this seam is showing, and this is the part where you can understitch. So to understitch, that means to just top stitch this seam allowance down onto the pocket lining. So that causes it to roll in. So you just want to use a stretch stitch and top stitch that. Since mine's the same color though, I'm not even really going to bother. I'm probably just going to press this down to the wrong side. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it this way on both sides, and now you grab your main pocket, so this piece, and then you're just going to find the pocket that each one goes to. So you're going to want the right side of your pocket to show on this side of the opening. So that means the wrong sides are both up. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, and now that I have both lying exactly where I want them to go when they're finished, I'm going to take and sew only the pockets together. So you're pulling that pocket lining away from the pant leg, away from your main front, and you're sewing only this. So I'll get some clips to kind of clip that in place so it stays even. And I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'll be right back. I have sewn my pocket lining to my pocket main, and this is what this seam looks like. And I pulled it away so it didn't sew anything on the front. The only thing attached to the front is the pocket lining. And now I'm going to turn it to where it's right sides like this. I'm just going to line up everything along these edges, and then once I do, I'm going to baste all of these layers together just right here at the top and right along these sides, just so I can treat it as one piece and the pocket's not hanging everywhere. And then I'm going to sew my pants just like normal, following the rest of the instructions. Okay, I want to show you a different pocket opening variation, and for this one you're going to cut 2 strips of fabric that run about 6 inches along the stretch of the fabric and that are 1.5 inches wide. And you're going to take those strips and you're going to iron them in half. So fold them to where the long ends are meeting each other. So iron them to where they look like this, and there's one raw edge and a folded edge. And then now I'll show you how we're going to use them on the pocket opening. Okay, so for this tutorial, whatever you want to use as your trim, make sure that it has a good spandex content and is lighter weight, just because you don't want to have a very bulky seam there. So if you're doing a single pocket and not a pocket bag, all you're going to do is put the raw edge facing the raw edge of this, and then you're going to want to stretch it around, because if it's not stretched, it'll just kind of like flop open and won't be taut. So you'll want to give it a nice stretch. You're going to have extra. I told you to cut more than you need, and that's just because it's nice to have extra to cut off than to not have enough. So you're going to stretch it around that seam, and you're going to sew them right sides together, and with a stretch stitch or a serger using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you're going to flip it when you're done to this side, and then top stitch the seam allowance to where it's down onto the pants. And that's what you're doing if you're not doing a pocket bag. And then after you finish the pocket opening, you can finish by attaching the pocket to the pants the same way that I did in all the other ones. If you're doing the pocket bag, though, it's going to be a little different. You can even do it the same way, and then stitch that seam here, but I do it a little differently. So let me show you the way to order it. So you're going to put this here, and then this is my pocket lining. I'm lining my pocket with the same thing. And then you're going to put the lining on top of it. So your trim is sandwiched in between your lining and your the main pocket opening. And you're still going to need, the hard part with doing it with a pocket bag is that you still need to stretch the middle part, so that it doesn't flop whenever you turn it to the wrong side. So you'll want to stretch that, and then sew this with a 1/4 inch. And then whenever you go to turn it inside, your seam is completely hidden. So it'll look like that once you're finished. Your seam will be on the inside. Okay, so I'm gonna go sew this on the pocket bag, and then I'll show you. We're at the machine, and I have 3 layers, and this one is longer, so I can kind of keep hold of it. And I'm just keeping the edges lined up, and I don't start pulling on this one to stretch it until I notice that the seam is starting to curve. And how much or how little you need to pull, it really depends on the recovery that fabric has. And you want to make sure that you're not stretching your pocket opening any, that your differential is set to where it's not. Okay, so this is what it looks like finished. And I pulled this while I was sewing. I'll bring you to the machine and let you see this one. And then the seam is on the inside. And then now I can attach the pocket, the main pocket that shows from the outside. Let me grab one of those. I can sew it like a normal pocket bag and just sew the pocket on like here. And then from the right side, I won't have a seam for the pocket since I have that bag piece there. So I'll push this out of the way while I sew the pocket bag. Okay, but I'm gonna sew the other one first. So first I'm going to put this trim down. Oh, that was my crotch. You know, I've done that before. I've sewn on the Brassie joggers. That's why I always, even if I'm not using that notch, because I'm doing a different method like this, I always put that notch there. And I cut extra of this because you need it to be able to pull when you're doing that. And now I'm going to put the pocket down, and the pocket lining is going right side down. So the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the pants with this trim attached in the middle. Okay, I am working on the back zippered pocket of the Iron Joggers. And if you're doing it, you can do 1 pocket or you can do 2 pocket. I'm gonna be demonstrating it with just the right side. So if you want to do the left, you're just gonna do the same thing mirrored. On the pattern piece, it'll show you which one is the part that goes towards the side seam. And you'll want to cut out this square on your pocket piece, or it's not a square, it's a rectangle. And you'll wanna cut out this rectangle on the back as well. For the back, you'll wanna mark it onto the wrong side. So you can see where I've marked it here, and then I've marked where my pocket opening is. And then on the pocket itself, you're going to want to pick the wrong side. So you'll face one right side down facing the pocket. I'm sorry, the pocket facing the pants. And then you're going to mark onto the back of that one where the pocket opening is. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the interfacing. I used a lightweight woven interface. It's a Pellin interfacing. Let me grab the name of it. It's the fusible featherweight. It's like my go-to interfacing. And then on the pocket pieces, I used just a lightweight, it's a quilting cotton that I had in my stash. So the first thing that you're going to do is get the pocket piece and face it to where it's the right side of the pocket facing the right side of the pants, and then you'll put the other one to the side, and we'll get to that one in a minute. And we're going to go on our sewing machine, and using a regular straight stitch, we are going to sew around this where my line is, where I've marked my pocket, back stitching and making sure that you put your needle down and pivot and get good corners at all of these. So let's head over to the machine and let's sew that first. Okay, so I'm at the machine, and I just wanted to talk to you about, so not only do you have this lined up to where the side of the pocket goes with the side seam, but you're also making sure that you have the top of the pocket to where it's flush with where your waistband will be connected later. And then I also made my markings on both so that I could see that I'm kind of lining it up where it should be. And now I'm ready to start sewing. I'm using just a universal needle and not a stretch needle, since I'm sewing with the woven fabric and I'm going to be sewing with the zipper, and I'm using a 90-14 so that it can handle the zipper well. And then when I'm sewing my main pants, I'll use a stretch needle. So it's just this part that I'm using the universal needle. Let me see if I can get you a little bit closer. The light's not too bright and you can see down to what I'm doing. That's the hard part on the video sometimes, is making sure that you can see what I'm doing. So do you see how I put my needle down and then I picked up my presser foot and I pivoted with my needle in that corner? So now that I have that sewn, I'm going to grab my sharpest pair of scissors. Okay, so now that I have my pair of scissors, I am going to cut a straight line down the center of that pocket. So I'll just make one snip straight across. You can even use your rotary cutter for that. This part, sometimes I do that. And cut straight. And I'm going to stop about a 1/2 inch away from each end. So I'm going to stop like right there, and then I'm going to make like 45-degree snips. This is so that you can have the corner of your rectangles look really good. So this is what my end looks like, and I'm going to do the other end. It's always nerve-wracking, I think, to cut into fabric for zippers and pockets and stuff like this, because you're like, what if I got it wrong? Okay, so this is what the right side of your pants will look like. You'll have a pocket, the wrong side of your pocket facing up. You're going to have this cut out like this, and now you're going to shove all of your pocket through that opening that you just cut. And once I have it all shoved to the back, I'm going to go and iron it down. And you can see my marking on the right side isn't the exact same, so I'll just remove that. So now I'm going to take it to the ironing board and I'm going to iron it to where it all looks nice and flat. Okay, so now that you have it to the wrong side, this is what the right side of your fabric should look like. You're going to audition some zippers and see which one looks the best, and you're going to place them underneath here. So notice my zipper's longer than my pocket opening, so I'm just going to make it to where I'm going to open it up, and I want the zipper pull to be somewhere in the middle, because I really don't want to accidentally lose it. And you're going to get out Wonder Tape, and you're going to tape that zipper to your pocket. So I'm just going to flip this over like this and start taping it. And you want to tape it just exactly where you want it to be. Now that I have my zipper positioned on there the way I wanted it, and you notice I could kind of move around the pressure tape. It easily sticks and resticks to get the right distance that I want in the pocket. And you could use a zipper foot at this point. My fabric's thick enough that I don't need to use one. I can just use my regular presser foot and use that as a guide. Okay, so I'm going to start on one corner and we're just going to stitch around the zipper. I'm coming to my zipper pull, so I'm going to leave my needle down and pick my presser foot up, move my zipper, and then keep on sewing. Okay, I'm at a corner, leave my needle down, pick my presser foot up, sew down, and then I'm going to sew down the other side. And on this one, my pocket opening is showing just a little bit, so I'm going to move the pressure tape. It's actually a little sticky. Okay, there you have it. My zipper is in, and now I'm ready to do grab my second pocket piece. Okay, so this is what my pocket looks like from the front, and this is what my pocket looks like from the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to trim off everything that is without the zipper tape that is outside of that pocket. So you can see where the edge of that pocket is. So I'm just going to trim off everything outside of it because I do not need that anymore. And if you really, really want to have a zipper stop or you're concerned about it, you can sew like pick up your pocket piece right here and then like sew on a zipper stop, or you could have positioned your zipper to where you have that, but your fabric should be thick enough that you're not going to go through it. Okay, so now you're going to get the other pocket piece that you set aside earlier, and you're just going to set it on top of that pocket piece, and you're going to pick up your pocket. Let me move this way. You're going to pick up your pocket away from your pants, and you're going to sew only the pocket layer together. So you are not touching your main pants at all. You're only sewing around these pocket edges, but not onto the pants. You're picking it up as a separate layer away from them. And I'm going to sew it with my sewing machine first, and then I'm going to go back and sew it with my serger just to finish these raw edges, because I used a woven fabric. I don't want them to fray whenever they're washed. And then after I sew that part, I'm just going to baste it to the top of the pocket to keep it in place until I put on my waistband.